Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing so good. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you, me too.
All right. How's it been? I've been keeping up with you online, but just personally, have you been busy? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, a little bit. I went home last week to the
Mhm.
UK and I was in Florence like a couple days ago. And so I just got back to LA like I don't even know how many days ago, but it's been a bit crazy, but it's been nice. I have some friends visiting me right now, so we've been having fun.
Fun. Well, we're so happy to have you back here. Um, I will just jump right in. I want to start a little bit with like creative process and stuff. So, could you sort of walk me through how a video idea goes from your brain to the camera?
Yeah. So, it kind of depends what platform I'm gonna be posting it on. If it's TikTok, it's very much in my brain 1 second and out my mouth the next, and then on the phone. So there's not much of a process. But when it comes to YouTube, it's kind of the same thing. I think most of the time I'm filming what I'm really doing, and so it's just the process is kind of just picking up the camera, which I've actually found to be like the easiest way to do it instead of overthinking, and then you really want it to like meet whatever vision you have. It's kind of fun to just like pick up the camera and film. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I never really tend to sit down and fully flesh out like exactly how I want it to look. I think it's kind of been trial and error of there's certain videos I like more than others that I've posted, and maybe I'll try and replicate that
Mhm.
sort of cadence that I had. But yeah.
I feel like that vibe is sort of what draws viewers in, I guess. I've noticed like throughout the years, your fans and like YouTube comments and things like that, they often feel like they've gotten really comfortable in like the family of your channel and things like that. And that's definitely something that you can achieve and establish like only over time. Um, has that comfortable feel changed? Like, do you feel like a different sense of like comfortableness on camera than when you first started?
Um, I think so. I think I've never particularly been uncomfortable because when I started, I didn't have a perception of who was watching or how many people were watching. And that kind of helped me to not get overwhelmed by it ever because it didn't process in my head. Um, and then I went through like a short phase where I was like, oh God. Um, but I think it kind of ebbs and flows. I think I have more like confidence now with like what I post, but I think I've always been pretty comfortable, which is nice.
That's great. Um, do you, I've noticed that your content seems to be super raw and very like personable. I think they're very easy watching videos, which I know like, especially with this day and age, people really, really appreciate. And that's what we enjoy mo watching the most is just people that I guess we can relate to. Do you have like any other ideas of like what you would like to do in the future? It doesn't have to be YouTube, it doesn't have to be TikTok, just like any other creative field that you want to dive into a little bit more.
I do. I can't tell you though because it's a secret. But I have like recently started working on a project which is kind of off the screens, and I'm very excited about it, and I don't know how to like tell you without like telling you, but yeah, there's definitely like other like creative, I guess, like mediums that I'm very into, and yeah.
That's super exciting. Okay, we'll have to talk about that later. We'll get into that when we meet another time. But I feel like I get the sense that you feel like you can be yourself online, which is really great and which is something that we all kind of look for. Have you ever been like under pressure to be a certain version of yourself because that's what people expect now? Has it changed with increased, I guess, subscribers or viewers? Has that pressure level sort of changed than when you first started?
I don't think so, honestly. I think there's kind of more of just a pressure to show up than to show up as something.
Mhm.
And I think like I'm very blessed in the type of content that I create, which is just that it has always kind of been very real and very natural to me. Um, and so I think just kind of turning on the camera and just doing what it is that I've ever been doing, which I don't even know what that is, kind of thing, is I think as you grow up, you do just kind of naturally change. Um, but I think that's like kind of a fun organic process. And, one thing I had to like remind myself of recently is like I'm not the only one growing up, and that growing up isn't like bad, and people are growing up at the same time as me on the same timeline. So it's okay to mature and kind of change your energy and whatever it might be that happens like naturally. Um, it's not just me doing that and me changing, it's everyone. So I feel like there's no pressure to not, if that makes sense. And I think I'm a pretty consistent person anyway, so it doesn't feel too crazy.
I find this question a fun one to ask to people who I guess have grown into their online presence, but they didn't really necessarily expect to start a certain way. I know that you were someone who, when you first started out, like you didn't know that you were going to be posting as a content creator in a certain sense. Um, if you could go back to your very first upload and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
I don't know. I think I sometimes I feel like I would scare her if I did that. And I'm like, you know what? She figured it out, so just let her go without my advice. Um, I think my advice, if I could go back, would be to not second guess everything I was doing, because um I didn't think it was like I didn't get the hype. I was like, why are people watching me? This isn't interesting, this isn't entertaining, this isn't funny. Like I really don't understand like what's happened here. And that kind of led to me just not being inspired to ever post anything. And I tried to start doing YouTube pretty early on, like when I maybe like a couple months, maybe 6 months into me really like having a TikTok page. Um, and I wish I had just done a bit more of that, because like watching those videos back now, it's fun to see like what I was like at that point in my life, like finishing up university and like doing all these things. And I just didn't think it was interesting. But now I'm interested in that version of me. I'm like, I wanted to see more. So I think I would tell her like, just do it. Stop being worried about it and just like do it. It's fine, kind of thing. But yeah.
I mean, everything happens for a reason. And I feel like the the way that you did things then, whether you liked it or not, it's probably what brought you here today. And you learn with all that growth and things like that. So, has your idea of success changed from when you first started?
I don't think I really ever had an idea of success, which is something I've been like struggling with a bit recently, because being now in LA, everybody is so ambitious and has like a very clear-cut idea of what it means to be successful for them. And everyone obviously has a different idea. Um, and I think I've kind of had to refine like what it means for me to be successful in terms of like not only stability for the rest of my life, but like fulfillment as well. Um, so I'm kind of developing an idea of what it will mean for me to be successful without like already discrediting like everything that I have built. But yeah, it's like an ever evolving idea in my head that I've only kind of come into thinking about recently, unfortunately.
No, that's perfect. I mean, when you're first starting out, I feel like you don't really think about success in the long run. You're kind of just, oh, I want to do this now. Like I'm so excited to do this now. But I mean, you're doing great. Do you have like a certain hope of what your content leaves people with? Like what sort of impression do you feel like you want people to be left with when they watch your content?
Like with the longer form content, I would like people to feel like they've watched a real human, I think, at the end of the day, because I feel very overwhelmed personally by the amount of like technological changes that are coming in right now. And I feel like it's such a crazy time to be alive and like to witness the like uprising of AI and like mainstream life and or everyday life. And it's a bit like crazy. So I think I want people to just feel like it was a real person and to feel, I think, comfortable in themselves after they watch it. Because I love when I'm around someone that like gives me space to be myself and like just kind of puts you at ease. So I think that is the main thing for me. Yeah.
I this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, but I feel like a lot of the long form content and like sit down, okay, let's just do this together. It kind of like it's your fans say it's kind of like it feels like a FaceTime, or it feels like you're just like on FaceTime with your viewers. You're just like going about your life, which I feel like a lot of people really love because it feels relatable to them and it feels raw and it feels great. So we definitely appreciate that. Is there a particular video or I guess period of time in your career where you look back and you're like, wow, I really grew from that?
Yeah, so many. I think so many. And I think most of the things that I really look back on are things that no one would have seen. Because there's like a lot. I mean, I was just completely unaware of everything. That's kind of the best way that I can put it. And coming into like LA and meeting people in the creative industry as like a whole just like opened up an entire new world for me. And there were so many things I can look back on now that, no one would have really seen, but that I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe that one went over my head and or this person, managed to kind of get this out of me or whatever it is. There's a lot of lessons that I could think of. But yeah, I think luckily most of the learning has been kind of, I guess, like it to face with people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you deal with like things like creative burnout or like idea droughts or things like that? And if you do, like how do you deal with that and how do you kind of break through and push to creating things despite all of that?
I deal with it a lot. I think the main thing for me is if you can like ignite excitement in yourself, then the ideas will kind of come. I notice that I get burnt out when I'm overwhelmed and when I feel like I'm doing something that doesn't feel good to do. And that just doesn't really work when the job is so like relies on you being, I guess, personable. Um, so I think like just to take a step back and give yourself a bit of grace to relax and then to think about like why do you do this and what are you excited like what are you excited to create on in a like a broader scale, like what's the dream, like your question of how do you want to make people feel and like in a perfect scenario what could you have and what could you put out, and then kind of just I think rest is really important. And I do morning pages, which is something that I got from this book called The Artist's Way, where you basically just write 3 pages of like A4 paper in the morning first thing when you wake up, and it's like a stream of consciousness and it kind of gets everything out of your head. And that really helps when I've burnt out because it literally feels like it takes it out of your head and puts it on the paper, and it makes it so much easier to go about your day, and you really learn what is bothering you, because if it's on your mind first thing in the morning, that's probably the biggest problem that you're facing. And it just really helps you understand like why don't I feel good, and I think once you know that you can tackle it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think like speaking of things like inspiration and stuff, are you someone that engages a lot in different forms of artistic media? Like, are you a big reader? Do you like watching movies, TV shows, things like that? I feel like in the end, like those things, even if they're not directly related to the content you're creating, they can still stimulate a little bit of creative wheels in your head. Or is that something that you're interested in?
Yes, I exactly what you said. It kind of just stimulates like that part of your brain. I'm a huge reader. I love reading. Um, so yeah, that's like a huge thing that I do, especially if I'm just can't formulate my own thoughts, so I'll read someone else's. So I think reading and writing, they're the main 2 things, I think. Yeah.
Have your viewers ever taught you something or like challenged you in your perspective and your content, or even just anything at all? I know there can be a lot of constructive criticism or feedback, or just like, hey, I love this kind of video, keep doing that, or anything like that.
Yeah, all the time. It's been like such a weird process in terms of learning what people like, because most of the time, a video that I think is terrible is what performs best for whatever reason. And so I'll always pay attention to the comments. And, when people say that they do actually enjoy just kind of seeing me do what I would perceive as nothing, um, it's very helpful. Yeah. So I always do read the comments and I take in everything that everyone says and try and go off of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially younger audiences, which is most of it right now, I we really do enjoy those kinds of like just not like doing nothing, or like doing daily things that we all do, but just in a content form. I think we all really enjoy that. I'm someone who I love like Emma Chamberlain and things like that, and we really like that for some reason. So
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. That's like what I consume. So thank you so much for having me and talking to me.
thank you so much for speaking with me. This is fun.
Thank you. I hope you have a good day or good
You
week.
too. Thank